Hello, this is Tom, aka Genny, on here for Tabletop Tap Room. Welcome back. We're doing another in-depth breakdown on an interview given by Kyle Brink, the WotC exec who's doing their apologetics tour, giving interviews. Note carefully that I said apologetics. It's not an apology tour. Those are two different things. And we will be doing that. We've previously done the interview, done an in-depth breakdown on the interview by Three Black Halflings. Thought they did a good job interviewing him. This one is by Teos. I forget how to pronounce his last name. Abadia. Apologies if I pronounce it wrong. And I was working on the screen capture for this and prepping to do this video when Genny D came out with an interview. So what I'm going to do is I am not going to do an in-depth breakdown on Genny D's video because she actually does that. She edits and gives us pieces of the interview. It probably went about an hour long, and I thought her breakdown, I might have gone a little bit further and been a little less charitable towards Kyle Brink than Genny D was. But I felt her analysis of the interview was pretty solid, and you can watch her video. I'll probably just go ahead and put a link in the show notes. And so I recommend that. But I will talk about a couple of things she said at the very end that will probably be slightly controversial and might actually unleash the social media mob on me, but I'm going to say them anyways. So, but that'll be at the end. We'll save that at the end because we're going to do the in-depth breakdown on Teos's Mastering Dungeons interview with Kyle Brink. But before we get into that, I just want to say thank you for my subscribers. Thanks for supporting the channel. And I just want to encourage you to hit the subscribe, like, and bell icon if you haven't. And consider hitting the link for our Cafe Press store and maybe purchasing something to support the channel. I appreciate it. Now, getting right on to the interview. Now, the next clip here is concerning the face of the future. D&D Beyond is the face of the future. It is the front door to D&D. This is an interesting clip.
So we bought D&D Beyond, as you know, and it was a fairly pricey purchase. And so we intend to get the value out of that purchase, not to put a fine point on it. And so D&D Beyond is the front door to D&D on the web. And it's going to become even more so. We don't see any difference between D&D Beyond and D&D. D&D Beyond is the D&D website. I think more and more you're going to see what had been the D&D website become less and less active, and ultimately one day, be largely a redirect over to D&D Beyond, because D&D Beyond is the home of D&D. Since that's where everybody goes for their character sheets and their content and stuff anyway, we're just accepting reality and saying, yes, this is where people go. So this is where we should be. And so just rather than operate two websites, we're going to operate one, and it's going to be D&D Beyond.
And organizationally, is one above the other in terms of hierarchy?
The one is more of a, the former D&D site, or the current, I guess, whatever, the D&D site that's been around for a long time, is largely a tactic, a tool. It's not really a team. It's not like there's a D&D website team. There are people who work on the D&D website. D&D Beyond is itself a product, a platform, a service. And in addition, now it is also the voice of D&D. So we used to have one that was the voice of D&D and one that was where everybody went to play D&D. So now, you know what? It's going to be the same place. And so
So all of those YouTube content creators, all the YouTube vloggers who have said that they're going digital are vindicated here because he's saying it. He's just validated everybody who said they were going completely digital. This is where you go to get your content. This is where you go to get your character sheet. This is where this is D&D. It's the face of D&D. It's the voice of D&D. D&D is going to be digital. And that's what he is finally admitting here, because there was a little bit, oh, well, no. Look, Yeah, when somebody predicted that the books were going to become collector's items, they weren't far wrong. And what's really interesting is that he is not that division. He is not one D&D. He's development side. So this is really fascinating that he's making this admission.
There isn't an above or below. It's more like we're putting all our effort here. We're kind of keeping the lights on over here for now, but ultimately it's all going to be over here.
Ultimately, it's all going to be over here, one D&D. So all of those predictions that they were going straight up digital, here it is. He's basically said it. We're going one D&D. This is where we're going. And big corporations.
On earlier interview, you also talked about the main concern being big media corporations moving to D&D's space. Can you describe a scenario of what that might look like so folks can understand the worry? What might a large company create that would be a problem?
Sure. So there are a lot of new technologies that have come around since the OGL came about. There have been apps. There have been video games. There has been virtual reality spaces. So, let's say that somebody wanted to create a version of D&D where you would put on a virtual reality headset and you would play through your dungeon that way. And the way that game interacted was say mostly user-generated content. And let's say that their user-generated content controls were a bit lax. Imagine kind of a Wild West Minecraft Roblox space, but with worse content controls. Say
I'd rather not.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm trying to remember that there's a great example of this. I'll think of the name of it later on. But there are online spaces out there where the internet is doing what it does quite graphically. And imagine a virtual reality space where that happened, and that was people's idea of D&D. And if that's what people associated with D&D, people would very quickly go, "Oh, you play D&D? Isn't that video porn game?" No.
Okay, let's stop right there. Big corporations going to come in and make a video porn game. I don't think so. Okay. I played EverQuest 2 when Sony ran it. They don't run it anymore, but when Sony had EverQuest 2, there was no way they were going to let that come in to it. So people could reskin their character to be pornographic. They weren't going to have that associated. These big corporations got too much to lose with their reputation. That's not going to happen. This makes no sense. Okay. This is an excuse. This is okay. But yes, I do buy they are concerned about competition from bigger operators out there. But this makes no sense that Sony or Disney or, and he said that in the Three Black Halflings, and like a Disney, like a Meta, Facebook's going to come in and set up a pornographic RPG website. Or Disney. Yeah. Oh yeah, Disney. You can't trust them SOBs. They're going to come and they're going to start an RPG pornographic web. No, this is an excuse. This is okay. That hot air you feel in your pants, that's not a fart. That's smoke being blown up your pant leg. Okay, trust me. This is BS and bogus. Not buying this.
Oh no, God, no! I'm just playing regular D&D, not that VR, whatever the hell thing. And while that's not something that's emerged, that's not something I've observed. That's not a thing that.
Okay, so he admits this is not something, and it's not likely to happen.
I know is a problem today. We were looking ahead. What could emerge? What are we currently unable to prevent or influence or steer clear of? And that was one of the things. Our position now is that the community is our strongest weapon against that. That this community, as has been demonstrated yet again in this very controversy, is a very strong community when united. And
okay. Thank you, Kyle, for saying that. And I want to put a pin in that comment. and we're going to come back to that in a little bit, that the community is very good at policing harmful, hateful content. Just put a pin in that.
We think that content that would be harmful to D&D is something this community would recognize, would stand up to, would make a big noise about. And then what we would do is we would join that effort rather than trying to.
That was my prediction in the previous interview, that they were. Thanks for proving me right.
Take it all on ourselves. So that's our current viewpoint, and that's why we've just gone all open with the rule set, because you know what, we don't need to do this with some kind of legal document. We'll do this through people power.
Are royalties now dead, or might we see in the future some other way that you try to focus this on very large media companies?
Right now, we're looking at protecting D&D through the already existing copyrights and trademarks we have in the things that are not in the Creative Commons.
Wait, you can protect D&D through trademarks and copyright? So you didn't need to do this whole thing. You don't have to worry about big corporations coming in, because you can protect D&D through trademarks and copyrights. It makes other statements seem not true.
Which is quite a lot of stuff. There's a whole ton of stuff in what we publish. It's not in Creative Commons. And so where we look now is to the community for things that are in the Creative Commons to prevent large actors from making a mess of things that way. And then from our own trademark and copyright perspective, we should be able to protect the rest of it. And so that
so again, the community will stop large actors. How's that going to happen? We're going to stop Sony from coming in. Somehow the community will stop Sony from producing something under Creative Commons, or Disney. I don't see how. I don't see how that's going to happen. But trademark. So if trademark and copyright will stop the big corporations from coming in, why wouldn't it stop big corporations before you started this whole OGL fiasco? Why wasn't it good enough then? Now it's good enough. Oh, it's good enough. But it wasn't good enough then. It makes no sense. We're talking out both sides of our mouth on this one.
Combination of what we can protect based on copyright and trademark and what the community can protect in the open space, we think gives us enough protection at this point, which is why Creative Commons was such a great and easy solution for us. When one of the folks on the legal team suggested it, we all jumped on it right away, because we realized, you know what, the open gaming license that's been around for 20 years kind of didn't give us any protection. We haven't got hurt by it so far.
Actually, the OGL was kind of restrictive in some ways, and it gave them greater protections than the Creative Commons did. So this doesn't make sense either. But go ahead.
Why not just put it all in Creative Commons and put this to bed, and we'll rely on the protections we have in copyright, trademark, and the community.
Thanks.
So they're going to rely on the protections they have through copyright and trademark. They're going to rely on the community for protection. And they're not going to make the OGL irrevocable. That's very, very interesting. But let's move on to hateful content, since it's next up.
Another concern was hateful content, and the community has had trouble with that, because we've seen probably the biggest examples that get attention are Wizards of the Coast examples of something.
Wizards of the Coast is the biggest example of hateful content. Kyle does not correct him on that. Kyle basically agrees with him. Wizards is the biggest example of hateful content. If that's the case, then y'all need to just shut up and clean up your own house. You don't need to pontificate to the rest of us.
Thing that falls short of desirable standards. And we've seen some companies delve into NFTs for sure. I was in an article, a news piece speaking against them. I don't like them at all. But Hasbro has delved into NFTs. And so, and then we look at the incredible number of OGL products that have been created, very few problems overall. So what is the community failing to understand on what Wizards wanted to do with content protection, with content standards?
So there's a couple things. One is because we know very well that there is content out there that can be quite hateful. It can be applied to D&D. And, as you point out, the community has been quite loud at telling us when we've gone the wrong way, and we've corrected it. And so that's, that we know that we can count on the community for that. The thing that we didn't have is any ability to prevent a third party from using the OGL to produce hateful content and thereby reach the much larger audience that's out there now than there was in 2000, the much more diverse audience out there than there was in 2000. So the opportunity for harm is much greater. In which,
let's stop right there. Previously, he said the community is really good at recognizing harmful content and organizing and standing against it. Real good at it. But now suddenly the community's just, and the community is much more diverse. So you would think if the community is more diverse, it's actually going to be even better at recognizing harmful content. Something I might not recognize as so harmful because of my innate prejudices. I mean, I'm white, right? So I have a culture, and I look at things through that cultural lens, and I might be a little slow to recognize something as being harmful as opposed to somebody else. So the fact that the community is much more diverse, and the community, he's already said, is really good at this, but we need to have some way. We can't allow for this. There's a problem here. And he's talking out both sides of his mouth. He said it, it's like you cannot say that something is white and it's black at the same time. You can't say that the Pope is Catholic and that he's Presbyterian at the same time. These things don't make sense together. It's one or the other. Okay. And so he's trying to say something's one way, and then he's saying it's the other. Okay. And freely admitting that they're part of the problem. They've created a problem. So now here's what we're going to do to fix it after we created this problem.
Which is what our concern was. That being said, we realized that the combination of our, as I was mentioning with the big media companies, the same answer applies here. Combination of community plus our own copyright and trademark protections is enough, we think.
Okay. Again, we get right back to the community is enough. You have trademark and copyright protections. Somebody cannot come in and mess up. And we have 20-something years of the OGL, and it really hasn't been a problem that somebody comes along and says, somebody prints something that's harmful, that's outrageous, and people are like, hey, you know what's in there? And they speak against it, and they say, hey, this is in there. Now, that person is free to defend their product. They put racism in there. Somebody's reviewed it. They've put up the statements. So they go right there. That person can say, oh, no, you misrepresented that. Look, this is the actual thing in there. You photoshopped it. They can show the actual, okay, but they don't generally if they did produce racist content. So it's not a problem. The community has handled it. It doesn't sell. Nobody's really interested in playing an online porn game like that as a community, because Dungeons and Dragons is a social activity. Okay, you play it at your kitchen table, or you play it admittedly online through StreamYard or Zoom. You're looking at people. It's a social activity. They're not interested in playing, a virtual tabletop porn thing. I just don't see it. It's the community has been very good, and the stuff that's crap doesn't sell.
To take care of hateful content, on further review, looking at it, that's much better than the harm that was going to be done to the creator community. So it's one of those things where you look at the cost benefit. What are we going to gain? What are we going to lose? Well, we gain the legal ability to stop hateful content by third party creators, but we would lose basically our whole creator community. That is not worth it. That is a terrible deal.
Okay, this is an honest statement. They're very concerned about losing the creator community. That is why they caved on the OGL. That is why they put the SRD into Creative Commons. They got afraid. They realized they screwed the pooch. They got afraid and very afraid. And so this whole thing, with all the creator community going, all right, you know what? Fine. Orc, Black Flag, we'll go do our own thing. It got them scared. And so this, all of a sudden, they reverse course and put the whole SRD in the Creative Commons. It was a way to placate. Oh, we gotta slow this whole thing down. We don't want to lose the creatives. This is his most honest statement in this whole interview, that losing the creatives would be horrible. They realize that we do have power and we exercised it, but they still have plans. Their plans are to put us to sleep by putting everything in the Creative Commons, so that later on when they revisit the OGL issue, well, you know, maybe you'll stay asleep and not raise a voice and complain if they try to deauthorize the OGL later on. It doesn't matter. You have Creative Commons now. But we'll get back to that because we're going to discuss the OGL and the VTTs in a little bit here. Content policy. And this is the rub. They have previously said the community's enough. Then the community's not enough. And now we're going to get into this. This is where I raise the red flag.
In the past, Wizards has held back from providing content standards because it can be a sort of legal responsibility, right? So like the Adventurers League initially tried to create a policy and then ended up having no policy, but requires conventions to have a policy. Is that an approach that will change, or is this kind of what Wizards will do, is more tell people how to create the policy that should be there, because you can't actually put the policy because then you're responsible for the policy? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So we are going to, we have been working on a content policy, and we intend to publish one for public comment and then hold ourselves to it. This is not, a set of standards that we can or necessarily should hold anybody else to, but we will certainly hold ourselves to. And so people deserve to know what our standards are. And so then we will act to hold ourselves to those standards. And that way also they know as a creator, oh, hey, if I go against this, I can expect Wizards to not be happy about it. And so in addition to any community trouble I might have, I might also have Wizards looking a side eye at me.
Wait, I thought they just said that their content policy, their standards are not something that they should or could hold anybody else to, but yet they're going to, we're going to speak up, and so they're actually planning on holding people to their standard. This is our standard, and if you don't toe the line, then we're going to call you out, is what he's saying.
Which is fine. Even that doesn't have necessarily any legal ramification, but we are a member of the community too, and a reasonably loud member of the community. So if we tend to say something that might not,
we're going to throw our weight around.
Third-party creator. So yes, we are working on a content policy, and we will be publishing it for public comment, because that's the responsible thing to do.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear it. I've created the code of conduct for RPG Project, which is available on drive-through, and certainly believe in it, and I know a lot of people I work with do as well.
So there's a difference between he's produced Teos has produced a code of conduct policy, and it's up on drive-through. That's all well and good. That you might say, you know what, I agree with this content policy. We're going to hold ourselves to the standard. That's up to you. Okay. That's not up to anybody else to say, you must toe the line to this content policy. You're not required to.
So I'm glad to see that coming. Thank you.
My concern with this, and I said this in the 3 Black Halflings interview, there's going to be a content policy, there's going to be a reporting mechanism, and they're going to use the community. And they've just hinted at that again here, where we're part of the community, we're going to say something, we're a big voice in the community. So the way this will play out is that somebody will get offended at something somebody said or did. There will be a ruckus. they will pull the lever of the reporting mechanism to report them to WotC, and then WotC will do a disavowal statement, probably on Twitter through their 1D&D account on Twitter. And that will be the unleash the mob, unleash the social media mob. And so, you know, somebody's going to say, Tom, well, are you fine with this guy saying these things? No, I'm not fine with that guy saying those hateful things. However, decrying, you know, in the marketplace of ideas, you have opinions, and somebody says their opinion and then somebody else goes against it. That guy gets to say his opinion. We cannot have a fascist one-party opinion system. You must allow the marketplace of ideas. You must allow free speech. And what we're getting into here is that we're going to eliminate quiet silence, people we don't agree with, and it'll start with somebody on the margin, somebody that like 99% of us all go, that guy's a bozo, he's a jerk, he's a butthole, and it'll be all better for the world, all sunshine and roses, if we just get rid of him and his opinion. And so it'll start there, and because, you know, if somebody speaks up for him, then it'll be like, you're okay with that? You're okay with what that guy said? No, I'm not okay with that, what that guy said. I'm okay with him having the right to say what he wants to say and prove himself to be a bozo idiot. I'm okay with that. Oh, well, that's harmful. And if he does it in D&D, he'll have greater reach because there's so many. No, he won't have greater reach. The community will go, that's a racist product. Don't buy it. He is free to defend it, but he's not going to be able to. He's not going to be able to pull it up and go, oh, yeah, but look here, but look here. He's not going to be able to do that, okay? The only people who are going to buy that, let's say it's an RPG about, you know, wearing the hoods and being a white nationalist and being a fascist Nazi. Let's say that's what it is. Well, if you're a white nationalist and you're a Nazi and you want to play that as an RPG, well, I guess you'll play it. That's your choice. Okay. You know, but that thing's not going to sell. It's not going to sell. And what will happen is it'll start with somebody on the margin, somebody recognized as being absolutely a horrible individual, but it won't stay there. Okay. And sooner or later it'll be, you know what? This guy who works for Paizo, Cobalt Press, Troll Lord Games, Frog God Game, you know, works for somebody, posted a picture on a social media because he went to Thanksgiving dinner, family came together, and Uncle Bozo came to Thanksgiving dinner wearing a MAGA hat. And he did it to irritate his sister-in-law because he doesn't like her and he knows that she voted for Biden and Obama and all that. And so he did that on purpose just because he's Uncle Bozo. We all have an Uncle Bozo, okay? And so little Johnny, who works for whatever company, took a picture with Uncle Bozo because he loves Uncle. Well, why would he love such a despicable human? Maybe Uncle Bozo taught him how to ride a bicycle without training wheels. Maybe Uncle Bozo taught him how to ride. You know, look, you know, you love that person despite the fact that sometimes and the family all knows, look, it's Uncle Bozo. All right. Bozo is as Bozo does. Okay. So, but suddenly there's a furor because, oh my God, this person who works at Paizo or Cobalt or whatever is seen in a photograph with somebody with a MAGA hat. I mean, it's none of our business, but maybe this guy's a card-carrying libertarian. Maybe he's a card-carrying Democrat. Maybe he's a card-carrying communist. Who cares? That's his business, how he votes. That's up to him. Okay? But, so Paizo or Cobalt or Frog God or Troll Lord, they approve of MAGA. And you say, no, nobody did. I've seen it done. I've seen that level of stupidity. Oh my God, they approve of that. No, they don't. Okay? They just pay the guy. He has agreed to trade his hours for their dollars. That's their relationship. And so what? He took a picture with Uncle Bozo and Uncle Bozo's stupid MAGA hat and posted it. Big deal. That's his uncle. That's family. Okay? He's not on company time. It'd be different. The company might actually get involved if the guy showed up wearing a MAGA hat. Look, you're causing trouble. It's disrupting the workplace. There are people who are offended by it. And then the other people who like the MAGA hat are getting all riled up. And we don't need this here at work. That would be okay. Okay, but you're going to get a furor gets whipped up in social media. And then the person who's whipping up the furor, the uproar, will pull the lever on the reporting mechanism, and then we've had reports of racism, so we gotta disavow Paizo or Frog God or Cobalt, but we're gonna have to disavow this company, and then everybody piles on in social media. And the problem with that is it's a system that is ripe for corruption. It's ripe for weaponizing to, this company's causing us a little problem. They're getting a little market share. We don't like them. They're pulling away money off the table from us. So very easy to whip up the court of public opinion. Remember, it's not a jury of your peers. It's not innocent till proven guilty in a court of law. It's court of public opinion. Let's just whip up the court of public opinion and sick them on this company, and that company takes the hit. And so it's a instead of it being a legal mechanism for shutting down a competitor, it becomes a social mechanism for shutting down a competitor. And I said that in the other interview, and that is what is going to happen. It'll start with somebody on the margins, somebody we all hate, okay, somebody we all despise, but then it'll go, and then, wait a minute, you know what? We don't like 10 car. We don't like that 10 car bozo talking about us. We don't like what he's saying about us. So let's find something in his social media and we'll get somebody to whip up an uproar about it. And we'll have to come out and, we don't agree with the racism of 10 car Savern. And it'll be used to silence a critic. It'll be used to silence a competitor. That's how it will be used.
Um, 1.2, the first version that we saw publicly was making a number of improvements, but it was still trying to deauthorize the open gaming license. And was that try to prevent a company from using the original OGL to compete on a large scale? Is that sort of the primary reason for that?
I mean, if you're going to write a new version of the OGL to protect yourself from the vulnerabilities of the old OGL, you kind of have to take the old OGL off the table, right? Otherwise, you're not protecting yourself at all.
Except the old OGL says you can use any version of the OGL you want. He's saying, it has to be taken off the table before you update the OGL. This is a narrative because they want to get rid of the old OGL. That's why when they were like, we're going to lose the creative community, that's why they put things in Creative Commons, was to placate the creative community, make us go back to sleep. because their target is still the OGL. We must, before we can update it, we must deauthorize it. Then we can put something in place. And in the future, 2 years from now, they will be able to deauthorize the OGL because there won't be as much of an uproar. That's what they're thinking. I will say something. I will say something. I think others will say something. But I don't know that you're going to, because some people are going to be like, look, we have Creative Commons. I'm not going to get worried about this. And the problem is that you have a monolithic company that is looking to edge out competition. And that competition will be the VTTs. It'll be very necessary for them. We are under monetized. We need to get more monetization, and we want you to do it through our VTT. Therefore, we must edge out the competition VTTs. But we're going to get to the VTTs here in a minute.
I want to ask a few questions about virtual tabletops and media. Will Wizards of the Coast continue to work with Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds as partners for 1D&D? Are those companies seen as partners or as competitors?
They are important to the RPG hobby, which is important to us. So
I love how I said this. They're important to the RPG hobby, so they're important to us.
They are important to us. We like working with them. We like what they mean to players, the ways that they let players continue to play. Look, we had huge growth during the pandemic, largely thanks to them and others.
So nice of him to admit that VTTs help build their business.
So the VTT community out there is great. We're totally happy about it. Are we also making, digital virtual play spaces? Yeah, we are. And my preference is to give people more choice, not less. So to me, it's not about making it harder for somebody else to do business. For me, it's more about how good can my thing be so that you can choose. You decide which thing you want to use.
And does what you want also represent what Wizards is planning?
So he's like, we love competitors. We love competition, except if you read that OGL 1.1 and 1.2, it was designed to eliminate the competing VTTs. It was a poison pill designed to edge out competition and make themselves the only game in town. And yet here he is going, no, we love competition. We love the other VTTs. And, that hot air you feel in your pants, that's not a fart. That's smoke being blown up your pant leg.
There isn't any plan to say, oh, 1D&D is different enough that the license doesn't apply, and sorry, Roll20, you can't carry our products.
Yeah, the 1D&D is an update to 5th edition, and we're going to keep the SRD compatible with it. And so all the stuff that Roll20 does that's based on that SRD was over there. And they also have license to sell our content, and that license still applies. What it will look like as the road continues, that remains to be seen. I mean, DM's Guild and Roll20 are now the same company. That wasn't true a year ago. I don't know. Things change. So
things change. And he's not making a categorical, no, we're not going to do that. He's saying, they have a license. Well, when they don't, when the license is rescinded, okay. When the OGL is rescinded and then the new GL says no VTTs, there we go.
Have to see what goes on.
So now let's discuss. So I've raised the alarm. They are looking to weaponize the community, to eliminate critics, to eliminate competitors. They are looking to weaponize the community and use the social mob to get rid of people they don't want. And it's going to be of the purest motives of, hateful content. And one of the things I keep seeing in comments in social media is, what hateful comment is people talking about? And then people bring up, new TSR and the Star Frontiers New Genesis. And I'm like, it's not even in publication. It'll never see publication. This is not the hateful content. Oh, this is why. No, it is not. It is not. That doofus and that company squatted on a trademark, and that's their trademark rights, and the copyrights are going to shut that doofus down. That guy's gone, and his thing is not even being published. I gotta say, I'm for free speech, and that means Uncle Bozo comes in and says stupid stuff, he gets to. Yeah, sure. There are limits to free speech. You can't go into a crowded movie theater and shout fire, and then somebody gets trampled. You're responsible for that death. Okay, yeah, there are some limits. Okay. But by and large, you have to allow free speech or you don't have free speech. That means some reprehensible bug on the margins is going to come out with something, and it's going to be hateful and it's going to be nasty. And we're going to say, hey, don't buy this. We're going to review it. We're going to say, don't buy it. The community will police itself. Capitalism will work. It won't sell. It'll become obscure. It'll disappear. It'll go away. It will not have the impact because D&D is big. That idea that, well, because D&D is so big now, that hateful content will agree. No, it won't. People won't buy it. Okay? The community is pretty good at going, I'm not going to play that crap. The community is, he said it himself, we're good at recognizing it for what it is and policing ourselves. I'm not going to buy it. Okay? I'm just not going to buy it. He can publish it. I'm not going to buy it. And if he loses money publishing it, that's his problem. Good for him. That will happen. Capitalism will operate, supply and demand. There will be no demand. It will not sell. It'll go away. Now let's talk Genny D. Okay, and I know I'm going to get criticized for that. I know, so you want to support. I don't support any of that. Do not support hateful content. I think my reporting on New TSR, Justin Lanassa, and the racism that was endemic to their Star Frontiers New Genesis rules, I think that should prove my bona fides. I don't support. Okay? Call it out. Call it for what it is. Say, don't support this. So now, Genny D. Genny D revealed a few things. Now, I recommend, and I'll put the link, go watch her video. She then does analysis on the pieces, like I did here where I played the clip and I gas bagged about it. She does the same thing. And I don't think I can bring anything to the table better than what she did herself to her own video. I will point out that her video is only, what was it, 32 minutes long. And I'm pretty sure that the interview went for an hour. So she has edited this out and selected the highlight points like I did of the other interviews, and just focused on those things. And she was not going to give Kyle Brink a platform, let him co-opt her platform to run the narrative. Okay? Because what's going on right now is they're doing an apologetics tour. We're explaining. Apologetics is about explaining. If you're not familiar with this, like you go to seminary, you take a class on apologetics, and that's about like defending your position, defending your faith, and explaining it. And so that's an important thing if you're going to be like in the ministry. It's an important skill for you to have. An apology is where you say, I was wrong. I'm sorry. What I did, I'm not going to do that again. Where you own what you did and you say, I'm sorry for it. And you basically turn from what you did. I'm not going to do it again. And here's the changes I'm going to make sure I don't. Okay. So that's an apology. They're not making an apology. They're doing an apologetics tour. They're explaining themselves. And so what she does is I'm not going to give them a chance to leverage my platform for their apologetics tour. So she has heavily edited out the interview. In fact, if you fully watch this Teos interview, Kyle Brink mentions Genny. I was talking to Genny, and my first time through, I didn't catch it. But now that I know that there's an interview with Genny D, suddenly I'm like, oh, he's referencing Genny D. Now, the important detail that she brought out, she says, I know that there are 4 other content creators, vloggers, who have been approached by WotC. This approach was done by email. So you have to have had an email available that, in your about, so that people can contact you and get in touch with you. So that it was done by email, and there were 4 others. Now, how she knows that, I do not know, and I would love to know how she knows. But and I'm thinking she just has contacts in the community, probably other people she talks to. I have people close to my level within the community that I talk to who produce videos. And so I get information from them and they get information from me. So I'm guessing it's probably that. She's on a level, at 400,000 subs, I'm not even in shouting distance of her. If you look at my subs, normally I'm not even monetized yet. But there are 4 other content creators that she's aware of that are doing interviews, and she will post, as she announces, she will post their video in the show notes so you can link to it and get to it. So if you want to find all the interviews, I recommend you just go to Genny D's interview with Kyle Brink, and there's the links. You'll be able to click on them. Right now it's 2 other interviews plus hers, so 3 interviews. And then there's 4 more mystery ones. We don't know who it is. So I'm going to make a prediction here. They're on an apologetics tour. Okay. And this is probably going to get me in trouble. I'm going to say it anyways. All right. Because, at first it was 2 with very low numbers. Very, very low subs. Actually, I believe 3 Black Halflings has doubled in subs now since the interview. Teos has taken a bump in subs, not as big as 3 Black Halflings. His is not as big. And I think it's just because he didn't do as good an interview, my opinion, as 3 Black Halflings. I really felt like they did a good interview. I liked that they pushed Kyle on it. And he went off script and then said what he said to pander to the audience. And, they didn't even blink. They just let him talk. And I was like, brilliant on your part. Absolutely, absolutely brilliant. Genny D will probably not take a bump. If she got a bump of 10,000 subscribers from the interview, she's not even going to notice it. Not at 400,000. She obviously doesn't even care. She put very strict conditions that they had to agree to, and that was that. So she reveals that there are 4 others out there. We don't know who they are. I'm going to say that they went on a show where the vloggers were Black. They've now gone on Teos's, gone on a Hispanic demographic. Genny represents a demographic. So they're doing a tour to show how diverse they are. This is planned. So I'm predicting at some point that there's going to be like maybe an Asian vlogger, and then maybe a LGBTQ vlogger, somebody who's openly, and I can think of people, and I think of one. I hope they go with that one, a person who's in the LGBT, because I really think that person is going to. They're smart, and they're gonna ask tough questions, and I think they'll push Kyle Brink. I think they'll push him hard. So I'm hoping it's that one person I'm thinking of. So I think what you're going to see is a whole rainbow of checking boxes on diversity in the interviews. That's a prediction I'm going to make. And but that may not go as well. So that's why you're seeing, you know, I was wondering if it was going to be really small, obscure vloggers, you know, like Teos, like Three Black Halflings, but then they did Genny, and I'm like, whoa, wait, she's big time. She's a massive number of subs. So you know, it seems like they're very carefully picking who they want. And that's very enlightening. We're going Black, Hispanic, you know, and now Genny's a female millennial, maybe a male millennial next. I don't know. You know, I'd love to see him do a crusty old white guy like Eric Tenkar. I think that'd be a good interview. They're not going to do Tenkar. He's not had the email yet. And if he had the email, he's not told me. So wait, hey, dude. But yeah, it'd be nice to see if crusty old white guy gets, you know, cisgender white, cis white male gets representation in that apologetics tour. I'd really like to see somebody who would ask some tough questions, put screws to them. And so it's good to see Genny not having any of the BS. Three Black Halflings pushed and pushed. They were polite. They pushed. Teos kind of felt like he was in their corner. You know, that nervous smile. I don't know if it was a nervous smile or what. You know, that smile smirk that was on his face nonstop throughout the interview. I really just felt like he was in their corner all the time. So I'm looking forward to a good interview from somebody else. We know there's 4 more coming, 4 more in the works, from what Genny said. So what they are, I'm thinking we'll be checking boxes on the diversity spectrum. And hopefully the box that's the LGBTQ box is the person I'm thinking of, because I really think they're smart. I really think they will push him hard. And so that's what I'm hoping for, is that we get some tough interviews and some tough questions, because it's when he goes off script a little bit, when he doesn't have the questions and he goes off script, that's when we get the best sound bites. So thanks for watching the video. This is Tom from Tabletop Taproom. I hope I haven't offended anybody too badly. Again, I'm greatly concerned with what I see coming from Wizards of the Coast. They are not to be trusted. They are clearly a bad actor in all of this. They are one of those big corporations coming in to mess up D&D. So thanks for watching. Keep on gaming. And thanks to my subscribers. If you've not subscribed, please do hit the like, subscribe, and bell icon. And don't forget to check out our Cafe Press store. So, you know, buy a little merch, support us, see if there's something there that piques your interest. And until then, keep on gaming.